Are you ready?
Good news, everyone.
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great. Everybody else sucks.
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me. That's right. You're always blaming me.
So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you ducks? It is All In Football on FTN, and this is just my sling with this is a sock, not a snake. The wife helped me is rubbing up against my neck, so she's taking care of me. But anyway, we are going to continue to talk about buying or selling running backs for 2023. We also it is part 1 of 2 because we're going to do it this week and next week, and then draw from all the people. But we're going to give away SFB. If you've seen that on Twitter, the SFB is not super fantastic basketball because we're not talking about Nikola Jokic. We're talking about Scott Fishbowl. If you want to invite to Scott Fishbowl after the show in the comments for this one, I'm not sure what next week's going to be yet, but for this one, I want your favorite running back breakout for 2023 outside of the top 20. I don't want to say like, oh, Bijan Robinson, shut up. You don't get an entry. That doesn't work. I want outside the top 20. Yeah. Yes. Did you say Todd Gurley?
No, I said he's going early, but yeah.
I heard Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley breakout, baby. Let's go.
Bring back Todd Gurley. So yes, that's what we're gonna do. But before we get to that, Meaney, have you seen Super Mario yet?
No. Hey guys, it's just too much going on. I have a hard time. Like, it's overwhelming. The NFL draft, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs are almost over, and then I'll just have time out. This is the dude that decided to go to the Edmonton Oilers game. This is the dude part of it
that goes out golfing. There's time. There's time to go. You just chose other things during your free time.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I chose to go to Edmonton. I had an amazing time despite the Oilers losing. I'm now a Vegas fan, so here we go. I got to find time.
I'm a Panthers fan now too, so I'm all about that life. I got you.
We were rooting for Carolina down here, and then that's not going well because Bobrovsky is this, or Bob Brosky, or however you say it, is
Bobrovsky.
There you go. Was he Brock Lesnar? I like that.
He's unstoppable. You couldn't put anything past him. He was like,
no, you can't.
It's
human wall.
You know what that just made me think of? Where did the saying "standing on his head" for goalies? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know, but they don't say it as much as they used to. But if you watch old clips, and I go down rabbit holes, maybe that's why I don't have time in my life to do other things that are more important than watching like YouTube clips from like the '94 Rangers and Canucks series where Kirk McLean's just standing on his head. I don't know. It's just a silly little thing that announcers. You can see that across other sports. There's like random things that announcers say, but standing on your head is one that doesn't really make any sense at all.
Like,
it just means the goalie's playing well.
It's like actually on his head.
No. I guess it just means like he's doing everything besides.
Yeah, he's being he's being so acrobatic, right? Because they have to basically do the splits and then reach over, go over here, push off. It's like they're literally going everywhere. So if you think of like a break dancer that spins on his head, like that's kind of what I think of. So when he's standing on his head, it's just kind of like boom, boom, boom.
With Nicole, we were watching the other night, and I said, I actually would have been a really good hockey goalie because of my hand-eye coordination, like playing first base. But 2 problems. I can't skate, and I can't do the splits. So
big problem.
I don't have that kind of flexibility.
So you just would have been good.
Maybe get away without. Yeah. You can maybe get away without skating, but you probably have to do the splits once or twice.
I can't do it. Definitely. I can't even do a full stretch at first base, and still. But like the picking without even like looking, just knowing like that.
No problem.
Yeah. I always wanted to be able to do
glove hand then.
Yeah. So anyway,
leave it to Fox to define what standing to do something very easily and very well. She could run the whole office standing on her head. Synonyms and related words to do something quickly and or easily is where it comes from. So it's not just a hockey term.
There you go.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like look. I went down a rabbit hole that one day at work when I worked at Geico and like was going through all the sayings of like where'd it come from like under the weather, the whole 9 yards, look a gift horse in the mouth. Like it's just random nonsense, including random. Real quick, we're gonna get to football. Saw Fast X this past weekend. Just wait for it to stream because first of all, the part 2 doesn't even come out for 2 years. Like what the hell? Like
really 2 years? Wow.
Yeah, it comes out 2025. I assumed it come out next year, like Mission
What
Impossible
show is this?
part. Fast X, Fast and the Furious. Yeah. So Mission Impossible is this year and next year. I just assumed Fast X Part 1 and 2 was this year and next year. No, but when you do watch it, Jason Momoa, probably his best performance ever. Way too much fun in that movie. It is amazing. Like he's worth watching that movie. It's a bad movie, but he's worth watching that movie. But
I enjoy them. I know that they're not great.
You can't look away.
No.
You can't look away. Even though you're like, this is ridiculous. You're like, I want more. Like it
they
is.
took it to ridiculous level 87 this time, and then they threw in too much CGI this time. But Jason Momoa was clearly the best thing. So speaking,
he always is the best thing.
Yeah, scary potential best things. I'm going to jump past the first running back we have this week for our Rocket or Docket for buying the hype for next year. And I'm going to skip past Sanders because I want to talk about Dobbins first because he seems to be kind of somebody that's in this like too great, too little, too whatever he is. We've seen Mark Ingram in this offense a couple of years ago, ran for 200 times and was a top 10 running back because of the touchdown equity, which is what we chase in this backfield, which is I love J.K. Dobbins, not just because of that, because I think Chris and Lauren, I think a lot of people missed late last year once he got healthy. And I put that in quotes because there's speculation of how healthy he was. But that final 4 games, like he started to look like the Dobbins we hoped to see. We're talking about 100-yard games, finding the end zone. And that was without, that Lamar Jackson guy, even on the field with him. So Meaney, top 15 lock, in my opinion. I think he's knocking on the RB1 door. Am I rocketing too much by myself? Am I having too much fun, Jason Momoa style?
I don't think so. I believe we were in on him last year as like maybe a buy low candidate. And of course, the injuries kind of slowed him down a little bit. But what you alluded to towards the end of last year, you could really see, like a little bit of a giddy up in his step. And I loved his first season too. I mean, you got to go back to 2020, but he was, a touchdown machine. Yeah, good call. He was standing on his head. I got the game log here from 2020, and it was, basically a touchdown every single game from week 11 on, like 15-70 in a touchdown, 11-71 in a touchdown, 13-53 in a touchdown, 14-64 a touchdown, 11-77 a touchdown, 13-162 touchdowns. Like not really involved through the air. Not getting a ton of carries because they had multiple backs at that time, like you mentioned earlier, and then a running quarterback in Lamar Jackson, but still super efficient with anywhere from 10 to 15 touches. And even though Lamar is kind of treated as a goal line back himself, quote unquote, J.K. Dobbins was finding a way to get inside the end zone. It's going to be a new offense this year. And I don't think it's going to be heavy run, but this is a team last year that ran the fewest 11 personnel. Now this year with a new offensive play caller, they got weapons all over the field. So, defenders are going to have a hard time, really. Who are you going to help? Are you going to help cover the mismatch with Andrews? Is Odell going to be able to bring it? He's a great route runner. We know that about him. Zay Flowers is going to have a lot of one-on-one. And then you have to worry about the dual threat in Lamar Jackson. So that could open up a lot of avenues for J.K. Dobbins. I'm in. I don't have him aggressively ranked like 15, but I would not be shocked if he flirted with RB1 status this year.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you, except I think I lean a little bit even more to Jake's side, where I do think that he is a lock in the top, the RB 15 and up. Now, if we look at some of the names that could be ranked ahead of him, we're talking like Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker. I mean, those are names where we're really not even sure what's going to happen with them. Plus, we have the AJ Dillon situation with Aaron Jones, timeshare with Kenneth Walker, and Charbonnet or Carbonet or whatever. What are we calling him again? Pop a bottle of Charbonnet.
Yeah, we're popping bottles.
Yeah,
of
Chardonnay, just like even though you don't really pop wine bottles, that's more champagne. Anyway, champagne Chardonnay. I'm digging this. Can you tell I really want a mimosa right now? So I do think that there's a place where they can finish, where he can finish up, flirting, like you said, RB1 status, which is RB12 and above. But yeah, I think definitely top 15. I think is in his future.
So you mentioned one name, and go back to you, Meaney, because you said you liked it, but not quite as much. Would Ken Walker or J.K. Dobbins for you?
I think I would probably pass on Walker. Yeah, I would lean with J.K. Dobbins. I think in that situation, I don't like the ADP. It's so early, but I know I'll just reference underdog. And again, you can make a case for everyone best ball. I know J.K.'s best ball, but Kenneth Walker's
Dynasty.
No. Make it clear. Yeah. I hate the argument, but in best ball.
But in best ball.
I know, I agree. And you're not wrong. So today on Mean Streets, we'll go over like the top 24 in terms of ADP, and Kenneth Walker's sitting there at like 48 and J.K. Dobbins is sitting at 58. So it's not a big difference, but 10 picks later, I guess at that point of the draft, you have to, pick what you want. I would pass. I'm going to have more shares of J.K. Dobbins. I'll say that.
Okay, well then let me ask you this one, Lauren. If I told you today, because it's speculative, and the news just came out, Breece Hall, by the way, not at OTAs, not a surprise, but Breece Hall, every doctor report out there has said he's ahead of Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is more the concern for week 1, but Breece Hall should be out there by week 1. But what if I told you, let's go back to Saquon Barkley from 2 years ago. Obviously, when I say this, I'm not going to say, and then he rolls his ankle in week 5. But if I told you Breece Hall wasn't Breece Hall until October, so the first 4 weeks of limited, poor performances potentially, or J.K. Dobbins for the full season, would you take the weight on Breece Hall, or would you just take J.K. Dobbins?
Oh, that's a really good question, because for me, this is going to boil down to how am I sitting in my draft? I don't mind passing up on Breece Hall if that were the case, that he is not going to be healthy until October. I don't mind passing on him to do J.K. Dobbins, because then I can kind of fill up on, I don't know, a different back besides Breece Hall, or maybe a different position besides the running back position, and then wait on J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, that's a tough one because I love Breece Hall so much, but I'm going to bank on the health of J.K. Dobbins for the season as opposed to having to wait until October. It's a tough one.
I'll lean Breece. It's tough. It's a top 30 pick.
Really
it's an expensive pick to spend on Breece Hall, knowing that, maybe he won't be full go until October. Maybe they ease him back in a handful of touches, but they kind of eased him into his rookie role as well last year. And man, he was great. I was at the game in New York between the Jets and the Bengals, and he just had like a 65-yard run. I think it was a catch and a run. And he just looks so explosive. So they've done a good job kind of bolstering the offensive line over the past couple of years. You got a capable quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure they're going to score some points. They're going to move the football. I'll lean with him because Dobbins, who knows? Dobbins may not be full go either.
I don't like the fact that the Jets drafted Abaconda. They drafted a running back like that. Again, it was 5th round, if I remember correctly, for him. Yeah. But I mean, that's still a relevant running back that a lot of people thought could go in round 4, maybe depending on the right team, even round 3. Point being, you had Zonovan Knight surprise people last year. You still have Michael Carter, and then you draft Abaconda. Abaconda. So somebody's got to get cut out of that room, period. Like Michael Carter maybe he's the one that gets left out all of a sudden, being 2 years removed, and all of a sudden I know, but this is too many running backs. You don't carry a full 4.
And a new regime, right? That regime didn't draft Michael Carter, I don't believe. That was
right. So I do have concerns for Carter, but I also bring up the fact of what if, this is why I probably don't have any Breece Hall this year. It's not even just the injury, but just what if it's a 55% share the entire year? What if they just don't get away from, we're going to use them 15 to 17 times instead of 18 to 22. That's a little bit of my concern. So on the flip side, is there potentially a Bellcow running back? Is he, 1 question, part 2 question, being undervalued? Nobody, what's the ADP on him, Chris? I'm going to go to Lauren first, but Miles Sanders just came off an RB1 performance after scoring 0 touchdowns. He went back the other way, scored 11, goes to Carolina in front of Chuba Hubbard and people. There's not a significant threat. Looks like Sanders might be in store for a Bellcow role, question mark? Can't go any higher, so you're gonna have to answer the question.
Lauren, I already see her rolling her eyes and huffing and puffing. Doesn't like her.
Miles Sanders and I don't get along. Not personally. I don't know him personally. Just
what's his ADP, Meaney?
From the fantasy
56. It's after Aaron Jones and before J.K. Dobbins. RB.
Oh no, that's too high.
It is high. This time last year,
I would take him over Aaron Jones. I take him over Aaron Jones.
Yeah, and here's the thing. As much as I want to poo-poo on Miles Sanders, which I frequently do.
Hold on, time out. This comes from It's poo-poo, not poo-poo on. You're not dumping
whatever.
on guys.
Well, I didn't say it the other way. Whatever. I don't want to, throw garbage on him because I actually do think that this is there you go. My favorite sound ever.
Yes.
This is actually a good place for him in terms of fantasy. And I think also in terms of real football too, but there is the opportunity for him to have Bellcow work. I am curious to see how he can be utilized outside of the Eagles system, outside of what they had with Doug Peterson, who did use him in a Bellcow role for, I think, want to say like 4 or 5 weeks, Meaney, if I'm correct, like 3 years ago, but they lost. Mm-hmm. So they went back to the running back by committee and then started winning. So is that a knock on Miles Sanders, or is that a knock on the offense and Miles Sanders? So we'll see what he's able to do in Carolina. But just like you brought up, he doesn't have a ton of competition that's going to be taking away massive amounts of touches. So on volume alone, I think that he is going to have a productive season. Do I think he's being overvalued because of this? I probably won't draft him unless he drops significantly for me to feel comfortable with it.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't know. It's one of those weird like Juju things, not Juju Smith-Schuster, but like, no, I can't. It just feels wrong to me. Now, if someone else wants to draft him at his ADP, go for it, because they might have a little bit more faith in him and in that new system, which if he does well, good for you. But I don't know. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. Again, not as a person. Like, I don't know him personally, but I'm talking about my fantasy football productivity and consistency. I just don't see a huge ceiling because of the Carolina offense, but I do see consistency. So I guess I could be talked into it, but I would probably have to be very drunk.
This is
if
your
I'm
boy,
be drafting him.
And now that I have George Michael in my head, because gotta have faith.
Gotta have faith.
There you go.
Baby.
Is this are you coming back around? This is your former boy.
Former
leader.
I've always thought he's a really good running back. I like to Lauren's point. I mean, nobody really views him as a bell cow back, and not to say that he can't be one, but he's never really given that opportunity. Man, he's done some great things.
And they lost.
I mean,
is that the chicken and the egg argument though?
Like, I mean, last year it couldn't have been any better for this guy. I mean, he was a steal in drafts. If you took him in the 8th round, and then he went on, I forget, he was like on some NBC show, and the reporter, I forget the reporter's name, asked him like, about his season and what to expect from him. And then like fantasy came up and he's like, yo, don't draft me in fantasy, because the way that we run our offense, I'm not going to get a ton of touches. I may not be the goal line back. I may be taken out in red zone packages, which is all the case. Nobody drafted him in fantasy. He went at that point from an 8th round to a 10th round pick, and people are actually taking Kenneth Gainwell over him. He ends up finishing with almost 1,300 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns. He was a steal if you had him. Like, him and Josh Jacobs were the biggest steals last year. And if you went 0 RB and you ended up with those guys, you definitely went on a run in your fantasy football league. But
here's the whole course of his career.
I'm in.
Let me tie this on to there, because we're talking about Miles Sanders also during his rookie season was heavily used in the passing game, because remember that this was like took over for Barkley. Like, let's not ignore what Sanders did in college because of how good Barkley was. He kind of got overshadowed. And then we saw during his rookie season what he could be. But Meaney, this more than anybody. We've talked about this on the show for years. The Eagles became disenfranchised with this passing game, and they really kind of watered him down and then almost eliminated him. I think, what was he, 20 receptions last year? Yeah. It was actually a very high reception rate, but not a lot. Do you think Carolina can switch that back? Because that's the true definition of a bell cow that we want for fantasy. Right. We want 20 touches.
Yeah, and I'm not totally sure if they will go that route. I think he is more than capable, as you mentioned, in his rookie season, 50 catches. I mean, he was one of 4 backs at that time in his rookie year to have over 4.5 yards per carry, 500 receiving yards, 800 rushing yards, and 50 grabs. Like, he was in CMC, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara territory, and then they just took that away from him. But I think he can. He really struggled 2 years ago with drops, and that's when they drafted Kenneth Gainwell and they brought back Boston Scott. But I think he can get to 30 grabs. Like, is that super exciting? No, but it would be the second most he's ever had in his career. I think he can be a 1,000-yard back. I think he can be the goal line back. I think he's much better than Chuba Hubbard. I think he's definitely going to be the lead there. So I'm in. I think he's a decent RB2, but it is a downgrade. It's like, it kind of evens out, right? You leave arguably the best offensive line, best rushing team in football the last 2 years, to a team with a rookie quarterback. So many questions offensively. they're not going to be a top 10 offense. They're going to be a top 5 offense, but he
that was
should
the
touch
point
the
I was
ball
gonna focus.
20 times a game. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
That's my volume argument. So yeah, it's kind of like, oof.
Well, I mean, in the volume argument is so that you brought up something, Meaney, is that immediately, I don't remember who tweeted it out, but they said the average wins for a rookie quarterback is what, like 5 and change. It was like 5 point something. And that's when I went out there and immediately smashed the under. The Carolina's over under is like what, 7.5 wins or something like that. It's pretty aggressive for, yeah. So that's part of it too. Like just baking that in is like, how many leads do they have? Like how much work do they have where it's not passing because of that? So a lot of questions, but this one we do know, Meaney, this team should be in the lead a lot. It should be easily controlling games. But the question is, what should it be in this backfield of, we kind of are done with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Jerick McKinnon said, well, I'll take that spot and I'll do even better. Yeah. And it's Isiah Pacheco. Isiah Pacheco last year finally kind of like in the second half of the season, I say finally, like really came through for the people that were patient, that waited, that saw the potential, because we didn't believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire was much of anything at this point, but we weren't expecting Jerick McKinnon to throw a wrench into like Pacheco potentially being a bell cow himself. But he's on the Chiefs. He is the lead as of today. Is it still Pacheco's backfield? And if so, Meaney, is he one of the best RB2 picks there is out there?
Yeah, I do like him. I have him aggressively ranked as like a top 24 running back, even though I don't expect him to catch many balls at all. I don't expect him to be a bell cow.
I have him in front of my boy. I have him in front of Cam Akers. I'm taking Pacheco before I take Akers.
I have him ranked ahead of Akers too, and I think Akers his ADP is 76 as RB24, and Pacheco is 23 as RB23 and 72 is the ADP. Those are two great steals early on. Those are two really good steals. If you are going to draft a wide receiver, or you are going to get a Kelsey or a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, like these are the type of players you're going to have to get, in rounds 4, 5, and 6. Heck, Akers is going in the 7th round. That's a 7th round ADP, and not too far behind is Pacheco at round 6. Listen, you just said it. I mean, he showed up in the second half on the biggest stage. I thought he was fantastic in the Super Bowl, and he's linked to arguably the best offense in football. So even if he doesn't catch any passes, who cares?
From week 11 on, Lauren, double-digit points in every single game but one against Seattle when he scored 9.5. Now,
what more could you ask?
Caveat. I was going to say, on the flip side, I could also say not a single game with 18 or more fantasy points. So
like a low floor,
but that's a decent showing for your RB2, right? And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be deviating wildly from what was obviously quite successful last year.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. I think Isiah Pacheco is fantastic. If I miss out on him, give me Jerick McKinnon. I'm in. Like, I agree, actually. Is super explosive. So whatever piece of that, running back room I can get that's not named Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if he's even still on the team, I'll take it.
And Jake, a deep rookie last year. This is kind of an outlier, right? To see a rookie that late in drafts and take over, an offense.
7th round pick.
Yeah, and to take over a guy in Clyde Edwards-Helaire who certainly struggled, but they spent capital on to get him. They had a veteran in Jerick McKinnon. You have Mahomes. You have, a team that's been to the AFC Conference Championship in 5 straight years with Patrick Mahomes. Like, for him to go into that sort of setting and overtake that running back room and kill it down the stretch, like you said, and again, on the biggest stage, that's a win for him in year 1. Now he's learning the playbook. He's entering year 2 as the guy with the first team offense, which just wasn't the case. He had moments in training camp and preseason games where people started to get excited about him.
Yeah.
Now he's in this offense as year 2. Man, I think it's great. And if he doesn't, what do you got him projected for? What's he going to catch? Maybe 20 balls, maybe, but who cares? Like, he's going to be the goal line back there. And that's very important for this offense.
And I also just want to piggyback off of you real quick, Chris. Sorry, Jake. I do love how both of these backs have completely different identities. There is not a ton of confusion when it comes to what these gentlemen do very well, which I love for fantasy purposes, just to make it a little bit clearer in this muddy mess that we have to deal with.
17 receptions, 148 yards to answer your question, Meaney. So basically, he's discount J.K. Dobbins, who's discount Nick Chubb. So
yeah,
double discount Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Is that what he is?
And bunch of picks later. 50
Mike
picks
Randall,
later.
Jersey. It's a Jersey thing, Mike. It's Mike Isiah Pacheco. It's a Jersey
Pacheco.
thing. If anybody's
Jersey
seen
pride,
that South Park
yeah.
episode, which I just showed to Nicole 2 nights ago because she had never seen it,
Nice.
it's a Jersey thing. Let's continue then. And I brought up my boy, and that was partly tongue in cheek because a lot of people drafted Cam Akers in the 4th and 5th round, more so the 4th round, because they want to make sure they got him last year because like Cam Akers campaign, like he's back to 100%. And then Cam Akers, Matthew Stafford, Allen Robinson, the entire Rams team just here. Hold on. This is what they did to the bed. Oh, wait, that's not even good enough for what they did to the
No.
There you go. That's what they did to the bed. A couple more of those. So Cam Akers, though, woke up at that stretch at the end of the year. We're doing this again. The year before he was playing hurt, played against some tough defenses. Everything should be good this year. This time he showed up finally and played well at the end of the year. This is somebody, Lauren, who also in the middle of the season, Sean McVay was trying to get rid of. Like,
yes, I was going to.
Hey, anybody you want to come get him? And everybody was like, nah. And he came back to the team after basically sitting out and not being involved. And he comes back and leads this backfield. There's little competition again. It's Kyron Williams, who didn't do much to show us any hope as a rookie. They did draft Zach Evans, so like it's some competition there. But again, a late round pick, surprise, Sean McVay is talking up again. He did the same thing with Kyron Williams last year. Matthew Stafford's healthy. The offense bounced back, question mark, maybe. Like, are we back in on Cam Akers? You don't have to draft him in the 4th round this year.
Oh yeah. I'm in because of where he's falling in drafts. Like I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I do think that the Rams are going to have a bounce back year. They have to. Like how can you get any worse from last year? Like
they don't have to.
Literally only
they don't have to.
Like, it's
their defense is going to be atrocious this year. I know they have Donald on the team, but it's not even just losing Jalen Ramsey. It's like Leonard Floyd. Like all they did was
they're gonna have to score some points then, which is always good for fantasy to keep up in the game. So that's kind of when I need to bounce back here. I mean,
I'm gonna jump in. You're pausing again. Sorry, Lauren, but like just to go to Meaney on this one. Looking at their schedule, it does soften up. But the first 5 games at Seattle, San Francisco, at Cincinnati, at Indianapolis, they can win that one. Philly at home. It softens up after that. Arizona, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Green Bay, bye week. Seattle, Arizona's in there. Cleveland, Baltimore, Washington, New Orleans, Giants, San Francisco. Ends up a lot easier than it starts. But to go back to what Meaney said, maybe they don't bounce back a ton.
I think maybe they can offensively, to Lauren's point. Like, I like what they did in the draft. Like they bolstered the offensive line. I don't
like that they get San Francisco and Cincinnati defenses and Phillies this week. I might just here. Hey, you know what? This just made me think of. Everybody's doing the right thing and being like, oh, they're going to bounce back. You're not wrong, Lauren. They're going to bounce back. They're going to be better. Stafford is under center and they're healthy. They're going to be better. Cam Akers should be. But I'm looking at this and saying, me personally, I might be like, I like Cam Akers. You know that. I might be like, draft him. I'm going to come in week 5 and be like, hey, you know that guy sucks on your team? You want to trade him? You don't want to see him facing the Eagles, right? And then buy low.
We'll be doing this again after 5 weeks. John McVay hates Cam Akers. Yeah. What's happening? Why isn't Cam Akers getting all these touches? I wouldn't worry too much about Evans. Sean McVay, they've drafted a running back every year. Sean McVay has been there.
It talks him up every year.
Yeah, it talks him up every year. And Akers is one of those guys that drafted and talked up. And then I was just so confused what was happening. I don't even know. Like, maybe it's all speculation. Maybe he just wasn't 100% with his Achilles injury, or McVay didn't think he was and wanted to ease him back. And Akers is saying, no, listen, give me the ball. And when they gave him the ball, like down the stretch of the season, the last 3 games certainly stand out. 23 for 118, 19 for 123, and then 21 for 105. But he was also catching passes, which is something he didn't do a whole lot of in his rookie season. He had at least 2 grabs in each of those final 4 games as well. So that's kind of like true bell cow usage. But they did bolster the offensive line. Stafford got hurt like 4 or 5 different times last year, multiple concussions. So if for them to bounce back offensively, even though Akers had those games without Stafford last year, I think it's so important to have a healthy Cup and a healthy Stafford so this offense can be competitive. But I think they're going to be brutal defensively, and it could just mean more dump offs.
They got a veteran behind them in Stenson Bennett.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like just
like
like you
35
said,
years
I
old.
think that does mean a few more
It
dump
just
offs, and
handed
I
him.
don't necessarily think that's always going to go to Cooper Kupp, although the majority of them definitely will. I also really like the way that Sean McVay is so creative in his offensive schemes as well, and the way that he utilized Cam Akers as well. Like he was catching passes out of the backfield. He was being used as a just ground and pound running back. I like that. So I like what I think what they're going to do this year. Now, real football wise, just to clarify, in case anyone's confused here, I don't think they're going to have an amazing, awesome season. I think it's going to be much better than what it was. Kind of hard to get worse. But I think fantasy football wise for these offensive pieces, knock on wood, if they stay healthy, I think this is going to be discount, like dollar store shopping for some of these gems that
I think he's the biggest steal at the moment in drafts.
Cam Akers?
I think he's one of the biggest. I mean, to get this guy in the
I agree. He's
seventh or eighth round at the moment.
Well, look behind Cooper Kupp too. Don't forget, Meaney, when we did the show, Lauren was out that time, but don't forget they got Pikachu now at wide receiver that they drafted. So yeah, Puka Nakua.
I like it. That's a good nickname for him. But
he's
Cam
yellow
Akers
too. Pikachu.
Yeah, I know. Cam Akers finishes RB 33 in a half-point setting, and the guy had over 6 fantasy points.
Do you know
from week 1?
Do you know how many people would miss that question if you asked that? Like, where did Cam Akers finish? Did he finish top? If you just even said, did he finish top 40? No. Everybody would say, no way. All right.
He was a top 10 running back last few weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good friend, Mike Randall. Actually put that in the chat for those numbers. Yeah. So the other running back who was catching passes because he already was catching passes when he came out of college, a rookie last year, who has very little competition himself. Not only do they clear out the backfield by getting rid of Lauren Carpenter? Well, they let Fournette go. They didn't really draft much. They didn't really do anything behind Rachaad White, which made everybody go, yeah, Rachaad White in Dynasty. I said, yeah, trade opportunity in Dynasty, because I'm still waiting for two things. One, a terrible offense, because it's going to be Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, unless, well, I was going to say Carson Wentz, but that doesn't really improve their team. They're tanking without tanking. Rachaad White should lead this backfield. Chase Edmonds, how many times we're going to do this Chase Edmonds thing? Rachaad White, clearly the best talent, clearly has the backfield to himself. Do they bring back Fournette? Do they sign Zeke? Do they muck this up with somebody else? All this being said, Lauren, Rachaad White has it, but he is going to be on what we assume to be a pretty pitiful offense, which the numbers have bared out for years and years and years. The late Mike Tagliere did an article on this saying that if you're a bottom 10 offense, very unlikely that you have a top 10 running back. So Rachaad White, I don't even give you top 10. Can Rachaad White be top 20 on the Buccaneers?
Oh God, that's tough. No. No. I'm thinking maybe 22, 23, but top 20, I think is exceeding what his ceiling is going to allow him to do. However, that still doesn't mean that I'm going to pass him up in the draft if he falls late enough. I am not drafting him as my RB1, obviously, but an RB2, possible RB3 flex opportunity because of the volume, because of the limited competition that he has as of today, because we don't know, like you said, Jake, are they going to muck this up? It's possible that they will, and then I will be sad, and tears will come out of my eyes, and I will be, desolate.
And you may end up having a lot of shares of him because of what you just said. He's going to fall down draft boards. He's going outside the top 24. He's not getting treated as an.
I would only
RB2.
use him in a matchup-based situation too.
Because if you go back before the draft even happened, people were drafting him top 20, pushing top 15 because they're like, Rachaad White's got the backfield. You saw what he did.
Yeah.
I'll read it off to you from week 10. 10.5, 15.4, 15.9, 10.2, 4.8, 13.3, and then 7.3. That's mixing with Fournette in some of those games. Fournette wasn't out there for every single one of them, but that's with Fournette mixing in. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, Fournette's gone. Rachaad White. And then they don't draft anybody, Meaney, and he went down.
I know.
That's confusing to me. Like, I don't
get it either. No, I mean, he's one of the biggest winners. He's one of the biggest winners. Akers too. Those guys are two of the biggest winners from a fantasy standpoint because their teams didn't do anything. And you just rattled off the numbers. I mean, there's one game here with 20 carries. It was the game in Germany. He was fantastic. It was 22 for $105, but he wasn't efficient, like 3.7 yards per carry, but he had 129 carries. To me, I think that this guy will be a borderline top 10 back in terms of touches. Like, how can he not be? He's going to carry. It's his backfield. He's going to get, I think, anywhere from 15 plus carries a game. He already proved he can be a fantastic pass catcher. 50 catches as a rookie on 58 targets. Yeah. Now, part of that is Brady and the dump offs. Like, it's not going to flow as nicely. And we talked about the offense. They still have a ton of weapons.
Is it weird that I'm more
Baker
excited
Mayfield's
for
not good as
Rachaad?
Brady?
Oh yeah, weird. Breaking news.
Baker was great with the Rams.
Is it weird that I'm more excited? I'm more excited about Kyle Trask being the quarterback than I am about Baker Mayfield for Rachaad.
I don't know. I'm with Meaney.
I'm way more excited about Trask.
I know we're talking running backs, but a quick pivot on this. Lauren, you weren't on the show when I was talking about with Meaney because we were talking the ranks that week, but I sat here and said, I feel like Baker Mayfield's unfortunately his downfall is partly his play, but it's not all his fault. It was so much hype coming out of college, the PFF side of the world. And we all like PFF. I'm not coming for them, but the number one quarterback since blah, 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 the best pick, whatever, he's going to be all this. And then he came out as a rookie and played really well. And especially for fantasy, you're like, oh my gosh. And the hype went out of control. It's similar to, sorry, Meaney, but it's similar to Carson Wentz that 1 year. It was like all of a sudden we have a top five. He's a new top five quarterback. This is the next great thing. It's going to be amazing. And then he struggled. And I don't think Baker Mayfield's never really not been Baker Mayfield. I just think this is who he is. The hype and excitement just blew it out of proportions. And he was a victim of it's basically a victim of his circumstances.
But
I love how he's unapologetic about it too. He's just kind of like, no, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is how I play. This is my attitude. This is my personality. Love it or leave it. I just don't know. I like Kyle Trask. He's been in that system for a little. Actually, no, I want Blaine Gabbert. I want him to be starting.
Come on. Now we're just saying names.
I know Blaine Gabbert. He's my Missouri boy. Come on. Of course, I want to cheer for someone from Missouri.
I guess
he's not even there anymore.
Missouri.
I know. I understand.
Bring him back.
But I'm just saying, do better, Buccaneers.
It's funny you mentioned, and I never want to bring up Skip because the guy's not all there. But even the hype. I remember Skip saying that Baker Mayfield would be bigger in Cleveland than LeBron James would ever be. That was the type of hype that this guy had. That clip just surfaced last week, so that's why I remember it. But Baker Mayfield, he did great with the Rams. With what
he did,
just Sean McVay helping him out. Who was
YOLO
Tutu Atwell and come on. So now he's in a situation where, listen, there are some good players on the Bucs.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, you don't get much better than that. Those two.
Caden Auden, I think, is a decent little tight end. And I like Rachaad White. I'm in on the price. You know what I think of Rachaad White, Jake, 2 years ago with James Conner? We played this Connor game, and Connor ended up finishing as a solid RB2, and he wasn't super sexy. It was I think 3.7, 3.8 yards per carry. He got all the goal line work. He got all the touches. He got the work. Arizona wasn't a fantastic offense either. It could be very similar. You're going to get a guy outside the top 24 that may get 300 touches. Maybe he falls into 7 to 8 rushing touchdowns. I think it's another good value. I mean, I don't want to rocket him as a top 20 back, but I love the value.
I do too. Yeah, I'm solid RB2 I can get, but I can't get behind saying RB20 or above lock. I love his opportunity, and I love that he's falling, which makes me happy because I will have a lot of shares of him if I can get him at the right cost.
You know what would help to figure out if he gets inside the top 20, some of these other players around. There's something.
There's something.
I wonder what we should do.
We could do something.
I wonder.
Lauren, do you know what we should do?
I think we should make a list.
Yes. I got to yell it a little bit more, but you got to get.
That was better than the first attempt.
That was much better, much improved.
But I picked it up.
You still have.
Wow, you guys are.
You went from a 2 to a 6.5. You kind of you.
God, you guys are. I can't be like we need to make a list. That sounds really weird.
That's actually a little bit better if you could get
They get all literal, hold on, let me go smoke a cigarette real quick before I do that. You gotta make a list. No, it's ridiculous.
You do sound a little bit
more like do it. Why do I have to do it?
I thought you did.
Because Meaney's failed miserably before.
Oh, man, are you kidding me? It took me 12 times for me to get a 6.5 out of 10. So you did a great job.
At least
Meaney was let's make a list, eh?
Yeah. Oh, God,
I think we should make a list, guys? And his opinion would be like, what did he just say? And Jake was like, yeah, you're not saying it anymore. You can be part of the list making, but you're not. So.
Oh my God, can you please do that one more time?
No,
please, God.
That's the clock smiling.
I think we should make a list, everybody. That was funny.
And let's put Rachaad White on it.
Oh my God.
All right.
Should we start at a certain point?
I was going to say, should we start from the bottom and now we're here, or should we go from the top?
Start from the top.
We're doing from the top. You thought I was going to switch it on you. There we go. We're starting from the top. Let's talk. We'll go through some that we've already talked about on the show. Miles Sanders or Rachaad White, Meaney?
I'll go Miles. That's
Lauren?
close to me, actually.
That is really close. I'm gonna go White.
Ooh, we've already
I know.
we've already got one. I'm going Sanders, so majority rules on that one. Not to go against you, but I think you guys knew I was going
Like
Sanders
you
on that one.
care. Not to go
Of
against
course
Lauren,
not.
but I do all the time.
So interesting, because if you're drafting today, this might have a different answer than if we're drafting 2 months from now because of the clarity of this. But if you're drafting today, Lauren, Joe Mixon or Rachaad White?
Oh Lord, on principle or like?
No, like this
You
is for
shouldn't give me
fantasy
this
only.
one.
For fantasy only.
Mixon.
I mean,
Meaney?
I agree. He's also a pretty good steal right now. I mean, there's some question marks, but he's a 7th-round pick, so I'll go Mixon. He's gonna catch a bunch of passes.
All right. You get this fun one first there, Meaney. Oh, rookie. Jahmyr Gibbs or Rachaad White?
I don't like where Gibbs is going. Does anybody else feel uncomfortable that Gibbs is?
Well, that's why I'm pulling him down to this
14
list. He's
back?
going way, I know. He's going.
Oh my goodness.
But
I'm-
just this specific toss-up.
Oh my gosh.
You're taking Gibbs. I can see it.
I would take Gibbs, but I honestly am not.
I know you want to
spending the
wait
draft
2
capital
rounds and
on
take
Gibbs.
White. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, but yeah, the answer is Gibbs.
So straight up, Lauren, Gibbs versus White.
I'll take Gibbs.
Yeah, the answer. Let's be real. The answer is Gibbs. It's just we all hate where he's going right now. That's
It is. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I was like, right after the draft, I was like, I love this for Gibbs. And now I'm like, whoa, slow down.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
This
When
is
Montgomery
super
just
not
if
okay.
Montgomery plays Jamal Williams' role, then
I know that
Montgomery's
it's gonna
have
be a
more fantasy points than
disaster.
Jamal
Like,
Williams.
ugh.
We already hammered this point, but I mean, that's why I bring up Clyde Edwards-Helaire. As soon as Williams stepped out for the season, Edwards-Helaire went to the 1st round, and we're like, holy crap, chill out. And then this is kind of similar. Like, of course, it's not 1st round. All right, so let's some of the more recent ones. Lauren, Pacheco, or White. You have potentially limited volume and a great offense versus potential high volume and a terrible offense.
I'm gonna go White. I'm gonna go White here. That's a tough one.
I'll go Pacheco, but these guys are neck and neck. They're side by side. I'll go Pacheco. Why I split hairs is what we talked about is year 2 in this offense, great offense, and that's the difference between the two. I mean, White will probably have more touches, but I'll go Pacheco.
What about Akers or White, Meaney?
So this is just, these are 2 beauties that you can get. I find myself leaving a draft with one of the 2. I'll go Akers. Yeah, I'll go Akers. It's super close.
I'm gonna go White. I'm gonna go White here. Gonna go White. Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
gonna go.
How
I'm gonna
about
go more with the consistency.
Dameon Pierce or Rachaad White, Lauren?
Ouch, that hurt. Like, can you just stab that knife a little?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about an offense that could potentially be worse, she froze on the stabbing herself.
Oh, I thought she was just actually doing that. Like, oh, there we go. Oh, she's frozen. I wonder what she was going to say. Pierce?
I know. I have the face. It's just...
Maybe
Meaney.
Fox remove her and bring her back. Actually, no, leave her. She's looking great.
I know.
right
This
now.
is great. This is Pierce or White, Meaney? Oh,
she's gone.
Pierce or White?
I'm gonna go Pierce. I like Pierce as a running back. Singletary's gonna come in. Steals? It's not like Pierce was ever really catching that many balls out of the backfield. I still feel like he's gonna be the lead. Don't you think?
I think he's gonna be
the lead.
Terrified about Singletary.
I'm
There we go.
You
You survived your stabbing.
You were great. You're just like. Wonder if you were going Pierce or White.
Oh no, she was stabbing herself in the heart.
I was.
Really
Yes.
Okay.
So,
did I
Pierce
have
or
the
White
face
for
view?
you?
Was I like?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go Pierce. I'm going Dameon Pierce.
Pierce.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
Oh,
Come
really?
join the
I'm white.
party.
I'm completely white.
Ooh,
on that
nice.
one.
I like it.
100% white.
I'm trying to high five you, Meaney. Work with me.
I actually.
Okay, let's talk about Pierce for a second. What's the concern for you for Pierce? Singletary?
I was about to say, well, because I was holding anyway, if people aren't watching, they're gonna be like, "What the hell are these people?
What
doing?
is going on?"
Anyway, I actually break a complete tier. I have White in a tier with Aaron Jones and Pacheco, and then I have Dameon Pierce in a tier with like Brian Robinson and DeAndre Swift and some other running backs we haven't even finished talking about yet. But I go back to David. I just told you before Lauren came on, it's the offense one. It's still the Houston Texans offense. But at least where we were talking about Cam Akers, and we're talking about, all Rachaad White, talking about the volume, I don't know that the volume is there with Devin Singletary. I like the Devin Singletary. Look, I'm not a Devin Singletary guy. Go back to my draft when he's another one. He got rated by some sites great after the tackle and contact. Like he got kind of pumped up, and then, he went to the Bills and kind of fell off production wise of what people had hoped. So I made apologies for Singletary. Like, look, another victim of circumstances. But not being the Singletary guy, I'm still not going to ignore the fact you bring him in as a significant. Yeah. He's not Chase Edmonds. He's a significant worry. Same as Damian Harris. I think it's a significant worry that people are not paying attention to who took his spot. I think they're significant worries. So that's why I'm not on Dameon Pierce. And I was on this. I was on Dameon Pierce last year with you.
Oh, we were as a show. Yeah, he was a 10th round pick.
Yeah, we were.
Before he had the great showing in camp and who Marlon Mack got cut. Like when Marlon Mack got cut, then everyone's like, "Oh wow, now he's a top 20."
We
back.
joked about that.
No, I think it's
on a
fair.
roster, top 20.
Yeah, I think it's fair to bring up those points that you did with Singletary. He's a guy that can catch a ball out of the backfield. He's a guy that can give you 8 to 10 carries, and he's definitely the veteran back on the squad with a rookie quarterback and a young offense. So yeah. I get it.
A little bit. I do think Dameon Pierce is a little bit better for the pass blocking but all that being said, Singletary is not a slouch. Before we get out of here, we did kind of touch on one name that I did. Volume, team, stinks, lots of opportunity, but he's James Conner. We know James Conner. But have we finally hit the point? I'll let you go first, Lauren, because you kind of got stuck in your whole world of stabbing yourself in the chest. But James Conner, if he stays healthy, if this offense can sustain until Murray gets back, if this offense is anything, is the volume even still there for James Conner at this point of his career? Like, there's a lot of ifs here, but James Conner, when he plays, James Conner, I'm not even going to say top 20. Can he just check in as an RB2 again this year, Lauren?
I think he has the potential to do it. Again, there's that pesky term. If he can
I want you to make a call. He finished 19 last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he can finish as an RB2.
Okay. By the way, RB 19 to 13 games.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I think he can too. I would lean on him not, but I think he can. And he's just basically fit into this whole conversation what we've talked about with White and Akers and opportunities and touches. He hasn't been that efficient at all. These guys are going to
fall so late in the draft, and I'm so excited.
It's true. He's another guy that's outside the top 24. Like you pick what you want to do here with White and, after Pacheco and some of these guys that we've talked about that we really like to be top 20 backs. And then after this, it's like Akers and White and Connor. I have some big time concerns, but he is one of those winners on draft day. They didn't do anything, but Kyler's going to miss the first 5 or 6 weeks. This team is going to be the worst team in football, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
I don't even think it's going to be close. I think you're eventually going to see maybe Hopkins traded, Budda Baker traded. I just think that they have a rookie head coach. Like I know Gannon's been with the Eagles for the past few years. He's never coached before as a head coach. He's a defensive-minded coach at that. And you got an offensive coordinator who's never been an offensive coordinator in his time coming over from Chicago. So
okay, I feel a lot worse about my James Conner thing
I circled this. Because Jake said it 5 times when he brought up Connor. There's just too many questions.
But I wasn't allowed to use it. He's like, no, make your call.
I know. I said it, and then I stopped circling after he told you not to say it anymore. What I think is like a 8th or 9th round running back. Again, depending on how you are a drafter, do you like to attack wide receivers early? Do you want to find some value outside the 6th, 7th round as a lead running back? Jake, what do you got him for? 200 carries? Probably 200 carries. It's not bad for a guy that you're going to get outside the top 25 at running back.
I could tell you where, if I could find him in the projection.
Exactly.
He's RB20. No, RB24 in the projections right now. Again, projections are only by fantasy points. But, well, hold on. 204 carries, 850 yards on the ground, which would actually be a tick up 39 receptions for 274. Here's the big one. 8 rushing touchdowns. Do we think Colt McCoy or maybe even Clayton Name That Tune can keep this offense going? That's the problem.
Nice. I like that one. No, I don't think they can. But 22 touchdowns over last year is really nice. I think what you said is actually a little bit more appealing that I didn't think about is the catches. 46 grabs from him last year. Pretty significant number. 30 plus in got basically every year of his career. Like his first year, he didn't touch the field as a rookie.
In points per game,
Hopkins gets traded.
Right. We'll get out of here on this. In points per game, James Conner, 10th in front of Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Ramondre Stevenson, Ken Walker, Jonathan Taylor, hurt obviously, but Miles Sanders. And now he was 10th in points per game. That's insane.
That is actually insane. And
that is very surprising. I never would have guessed that.
All these backs you should just have on your radar when you're drafting. I would.
I thought you were going to say on your roster. Just draft 100 running backs.
But man, to get one of these three, like either Akers, White, and Connor, to get one of those three,
even 2 out of 3 if you're going to take flyers.
Yeah. The ceiling is not super sexy, but the floor is solid.
I'll save this for next show, but I'm going to throw out this for a couple things. Just one reminder. Are we outside of the top 20 that you think to break out in 2023? That's your entry to the Scott Fish Bowl giveaway invite. Follow Chris Meaney at Chris Meaney, Step on Lauren, Step on Lauren. Code all in, get you 20% off it at the end. And we have discounts at the Athletic. Before we get out of here, this is a nugget. Throw it away for next week. What were you just repeat what you were saying, Meaney, about the James Conner and all that type of stuff? Or did you already forget? You got like this look at you. Like,
nonsense. I'm trying to remember to help you out. I'm like, what were we talking about?
Just all right, these values outside the top 24.
Yeah. Well, no. You screwed up the whole thing. So you're just gonna have to tune in next time to find a little nugget that I was gonna give you. So that's ha. Check back in All in Football next Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Dad.
or on the podcast.
Ooh,
yeah. Go do homework.
We're in trouble now.
Jerks.
If